Cunningham owned Jacy Sheldon from the same game that Marina Mabrey did the massive body slam into Caitlin Clark on. She still owns Jacy. She still owns Jacy Sheldon. And what's great is she's got a great sense of humor about it, and she's not shy about it. I mean, what are they going to do? Him would take her rightful place as the Indiana Fever enforcer, and I believe took the first step to her becoming the second most popular player in the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham is everywhere. Arby's walking in. She's the best looking woman walking into these WNBA arenas. I mean, Black Belt Barbie, anybody? Black Belt.
You know when someone crosses a line so blatantly that the entire basketball world just stops and watches what happens next? That moment just arrived in the WNBA, and it came with a Sharpie in hand. Sophie Cunningham didn't just defend Caitlin Clark. She owned the player who poked her in the eye, humiliated her on the court, and then made it permanent at a fan event. We're talking about a statement so savage that it turned a rookie card into a property deed. And before we dive deep into this, let me be crystal clear about what we're witnessing here. This isn't manufactured drama. This isn't social media noise. This is old-school basketball justice delivered by someone who understands that when you have the biggest star in your sport on your roster, you don't let people treat her like a tackling dummy without consequences. Sophie Cunningham just became the enforcer every franchise wishes they had, and Jacy Sheldon learned that lesson the hard way. Many of you have been saying this for weeks. Where's the protection for Caitlin? Who's going to step up when opponents cross the line? Well, you were onto something, because Sophie just answered that question in the most public, most viral, most absolutely perfect way possible. If you believe the story behind the story matters, if you think basketball culture extends beyond the stat sheet, smash that like button right now. It tells us we're on the right track, and trust me, you'll want to be locked in for where this goes next. Let's filter out the noise and look at what actually happened here. During that chaotic game against Dallas, the same contest where Marina Mabrey decided to test her linebacker credentials with an after-the-whistle body slam on Caitlin Clark, there was another player quietly building a pattern, Jacy Sheldon. A bump here, extra contact there. The kind of physical play that gets described as just competing, even when everyone watching knows it's more calculated than that. Fever fans saw it, Caitlin's teammates saw it, and Sophie Cunningham definitely saw it. Because here's the thing about patterns in professional basketball. They don't need a referee's whistle to be real. They just need to happen often enough that players start keeping mental notes. And Sophie? She was taking detailed notes. Third quarter. The Fever are trailing by 10. Cameras catch Sheldon and Clark in tight defensive coverage. Then it happens. Contact that looks routine until you see Clark's reaction. She's upset. Visibly upset. The kind of upset that doesn't come from accidental game contact. It comes from something that crossed a boundary. Now, in most games, that moment gets absorbed into the chaos. Maybe a teammate says something to the ref. Maybe the coaching staff files it away for film review. But Sophie Cunningham doesn't operate like most players. She saw Sheldon add another unnecessary nudge to a growing list of questionable contact, and she didn't go looking for a complaint form. She filed it mentally and waited for the right opportunity. Later in that same game, when Sheldon went up for a layup, Sophie delivered what can only be described as a firm, controlled, absolutely intentional reminder. Not dirty, not reckless, just physical enough to send a message that didn't require translation. Basketball justice. The kind that doesn't escalate into chaos but doesn't ignore the problem either.
Hard foul on Jacy Sheldon. Again, as Jacy Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely
A clean hit within the flow of the game, but with unmistakable purpose. The contact said everything without Sophie needing to say a word. Adjust your approach. Understand the terms. Recognize that Caitlin Clark has protection now. For most players, that would be where the story ends. Hard foul. Message sent. Move on to the next game. But Sophie Cunningham isn't most players. And what happened next turned a routine enforcer moment into a viral masterclass that's still echoing across social media. Fast forward to a Fever Fan event. No game clock ticking, no referees watching. Just tables, Sharpies, and fans lining up for autographs. Sophie's in full community mode, smiling, joking, signing whatever gets slid across the table. She's approachable. She's engaged. She's exactly the kind of personality that builds genuine fan connection. Then a fan pulls out something unexpected, a Jacy Sheldon rookie card. Not a Fever card, not a Sophie card, a card featuring the same player who'd been bumping into Caitlin Clark all game, the same player who'd just absorbed that hard foul as a consequence. And this fan has a specific request, not just an autograph, a statement. Sophie doesn't hesitate, doesn't pause to consider the optics, doesn't calculate whether this might create controversy. She takes the card, grabs the Sharpie, and writes across it in bold letters that would make headlines within hours.
This is kind of crazy. This one is kind of crazy. When you get Sophie Cunningham to sign a Jacy Sheldon rookie card with property of, that is crazy. That is crazy. Property of Sophie Cunningham. I think this means anything. Like, obviously, when you get a Sophie Cunningham to sign a Jacy Sheldon card, like, I think we should see that more in
Property of Sophie Cunningham. That wasn't a casual signature. That wasn't an inside joke mumbled under her breath. That was a public declaration delivered in permanent ink at a fan-facing event with phones ready to capture every second. It was funny. It was sharp. It was completely on brand. And it was gasoline on the already burning conversation about who protects Caitlin Clark in this league. Lexi Hull, sitting right next to Sophie, immediately broke into laughter. Fans at the table lost it. Phones came out. And within minutes, that clip was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, sports shows. It had every ingredient that makes content go nuclear. Rivalry, humor, authenticity, a teammate standing up for the league's biggest star without waiting for permission or worrying about perception. It wasn't staged. It wasn't part of some coordinated marketing rollout. It was raw, unfiltered personality from a player who meant every letter she wrote. And here's the most important detail that separates Sophie from players who talk tough but fold under pressure. She didn't retreat. No awkward clarifications the next day. No, just kidding. Guys, follow-up post. No notes app apology trying to smooth things over. She leaned into it because she meant it. That's the consistency you want from someone taking on the enforcer role. Not chaos. Not ego-driven theatrics. Just loyalty with teeth. Just a veteran player who understands that when your teammate is Caitlin Clark, the player moving the WNBA into bigger arenas and drawing unprecedented attention, she's going to be targeted, consistently, intentionally. And someone needs to make it expensive. Connecting the dots reveals something crucial about team dynamics that casual fans might miss. Every transcendent player in sports history had protection. Michael Jordan had teammates who absorbed physicality for him. Steph Curry has Draymond Green. Wayne Gretzky never skated alone. The generational talents don't operate in isolation. They have enforcers who understand the assignment. And right now, the most watched player in the WNBA has Sophie Cunningham, shooter, competitor, and apparently part-time enforcer with a Sharpie. But before we go further, I need to hear from you. Drop a comment right now and tell me this. Do you think Sophie went too far with that autograph? Or was this exactly the energy Caitlin Clark needed on her team? Because the internet is split, and I want to know where you stand. Hit me in the comments. Now here's what elevates this beyond simple theatrics or personality-driven content. Sophie is actually producing at an elite level. This isn't some bench player trying to manufacture relevance through drama. Since joining Indiana, she's been knocking down threes with serious confidence, stacking double-digit scoring nights, and stepping up exactly when the Fever needs spacing and toughness. 18 points against Phoenix, 15 here, 20 there. It's not just attitude backing up the enforcer reputation, it's legitimate output. She's in closing lineups. She's in opposing teams, scouting reports. She forces defenses to stay honest because if they help off her to double Caitlin, she's going to make them pay from deep. That production matters because it separates Sophie from the caricature of an enforcer who exists solely to absorb fouls and talk trash. She contributes meaningfully to winning basketball. She spaces the floor. She hits timely shots in tight games when others go cold. That's why her edge carries actual weight. She's not trying to create relevance through confrontation. She's already relevant as a basketball player first. In many ways, Sophie feels like a throwback, the kind of player who protects locker room culture as fiercely as she protects the paint. And in a league where Caitlin Clark draws unprecedented physical attention, that role isn't just valuable. It's essential. Clark's arrival has been transformative for the WNBA. Attendance spikes, television numbers jump, merchandise flies off shelves. But that spotlight has also attracted something else. Defenders eager to make a statement at her expense, players who see targeting the league's biggest star as their path to relevance. And for a second-year player, the volume of contact Caitlin absorbs is genuinely striking. If no one pushes back, the message spreads quickly throughout the league. Target her, test her, make it physical. That's a dangerous dynamic. Sophie's presence interrupts that narrative immediately. It says there are consequences, not dirty ones, not reckless plays that get you suspended, but competitive consequences delivered through legal basketball contact and public statements that resonate far beyond the court. It's a psychological shift that changes how opponents approach every possession. And fans have embraced Sophie's approach completely. The autograph clip went viral within hours. Memes immediately labeled her Black Belt Barbie, nodding to her martial arts background while perfectly capturing that blend of toughness and personality. People started joking about merchandise drops featuring "Property of Sophie Cunningham" across the back. The marketing practically writes itself. Meanwhile, Jacy Sheldon's online perception tilted hard in the opposite direction. Mention her name to WNBA fans now, and the first thing that comes up isn't a stat line or a highlight play, it's the foul on Clark, the eye poke contact, and now the very public claim of ownership from Cunningham. In a league where storylines stick and narratives define legacies, that perception shift matters significantly. But the bigger takeaway here isn't about embarrassing one player. It's about tone setting for an entire roster. Sophie's response sent a message to the rest of the Fever lineup that matters just as much as what she told opponents. You don't let your star absorb everything alone. You stand up, you push back, you make it clear that there's a price for crossing certain lines. That mentality builds genuine unity. It creates locker room cohesion. Caitlin's game flourishes when teammates create space and deter reckless aggression aimed at her. Cunningham's approach complements that perfectly. She can knock down a deep three, take a charge, defend multiple positions, and then smile through the chaos while making it clear she won't tolerate disrespect. That mix of skill and swagger resonates beyond just Fever fans. Even neutral viewers who don't have a roster in the fight appreciate players who defend their own without crossing ethical lines. It's authentic, it's entertaining. And in a league still fighting for consistent mainstream attention, personalities that spark the right kind of conversation are invaluable assets. What makes Sophie's public statement even more striking is how uncommon that kind of visible stand is in the WNBA. Sure, games get chippy, words get exchanged on the court, technicals get called, but using a fan event to make a playful yet pointed declaration of dominance, that's rare territory. And it wasn't malicious. It was confident. It built her personal brand as someone who absolutely will not be pushed around. The Black Belt Barbie's nickname works perfectly because it captures that exact balance, polished and poised off the court, but ready for whatever comes during competition. This isn't about being universally adored or winning popularity contests. It's about establishing a clear identity. Sophie isn't in Indiana to make friends with opponents. She's there to win games and make sure her teammates can compete without constant interference. That authenticity is precisely what fans latch onto. In post-game interviews, Sophie has openly discussed her approach. She's talked about how Caitlin came to her after hard fouls and said, "Finally, someone else." That locker room validation matters. It shows this isn't manufactured for cameras. It's real teammate dynamics playing out in public. And looking ahead, this storyline isn't disappearing anytime soon. The next time Indiana faces Dallas, the cameras will absolutely linger on every Sophie Sheldon interaction. Every screen, every bump, every defensive assignment will carry layers of context. Opponents now understand that targeting Clark won't go unanswered. That awareness alone shifts the mental calculation. It's one thing to gamble on cheap contact when you think no one will respond. It's completely different when you know there's a veteran ready to step into the frame with consequences. At the end of the day, Sophie didn't just check Jacy Sheldon. She clarified the boundaries for everyone watching across the league. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't chaotic. It was absolutely deliberate. And in a season where Caitlin Clark has absorbed more than her fair share of questionable physicality, that deliberate response felt overdue. So, before you click away, I need you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications because we're tracking every development in this story. Second, go watch our next video breaking down why the WNBA might actually regret how they've handled the Caitlin Clark situation this season. And third, tell me in the comments, was Sophie's property of Sophie Cunningham moment the perfect mic drop, or did it ignite a rivalry that's only going to intensify from here? One thing is absolutely certain. Indiana's star isn't navigating this league alone anymore. She's got protection, she's got a teammate willing to put it all on the line, and the rest of the WNBA just got put on notice. See you in the next one.